Level 1, DEA Academy Recruit. You're 23, Quantico, Week 1. An instructor tells you that the hardest part of this job isn't the danger. You think he's going to say it's the paperwork. He says, it's knowing who you are when nobody's watching. You write it down. You don't fully understand it yet. The DEA Academy is 16 weeks, alongside FBI recruits, alongside your own cohort of 41. You run, you shoot, you study, drug identification, criminal law, surveillance techniques, interview and interrogation, report writing. The physical standards are demanding but manageable. The cognitive load is what finds the ceiling. Not the volume, but the precision. Federal cases get thrown out over paperwork errors. You learn to write the way a surgeon cuts. Your firearms instructor is a woman named Briggs. Former ATF, 12 years, shoots left-handed and qualifies expert every cycle. She tells you on day 3 that your grip is wrong. She shows you once. She doesn't show you again. You fix it or you don't. You fix it. Week 11. Undercover training begins. Role-play scenarios. You're a buyer. You're an informant. You're someone you're not. The instructors play the targets. They're good at it. They've done the actual thing and they know exactly which questions will expose you if you're not prepared. An instructor named Calloway plays a mid-level dealer. You're supposed to buy. The buy goes fine. You get the package. You execute the protocol. Then he looks at you for a moment and asks, "What's your mother's name?" You say a name, the name you're supposed to say. He says, "You hesitated." You hesitated for less than a second. He says, "In the field, that hesitation is a conversation about why you hesitated. That conversation gets people killed." You spend the rest of the week eliminating the hesitation, not by memorizing better, by becoming the person who doesn't have to think about it. That's the difference. You'll spend the next 20 years understanding it. Level 2, Special Agent, First Assignment. You're 24, El Paso Field Division, the border. You're on a group that works mid-level distribution. Not the cartel itself, not yet, not for years. Street-level dealers, mid-level suppliers, the people who move product from the point of import to the point of sale. This is where cases are built. This is where you learn what a case actually is. Your group supervisor is a man named Okafor, Nigerian-American, 15 years in, speaks in complete sentences and expects the same. He reads every 6 filing you write before it goes up the chain. He sends them back with questions, never corrections. You answer the questions, and the answers are the corrections. Month 3. Your first buy walk. You meet a supplier, mid-30s, cautious, has been doing this long enough to be careful, in a parking lot in a strip mall. You buy 8 ounces of methamphetamine. The transaction takes 4 minutes. Surveillance is running from 3 positions. A tech agent has a wire on you that's transmitting to a van 2 blocks away. Everything goes correctly. You walk back to your car. You sit in the driver's seat. Your hands are not shaking. You note this, that your hands are not shaking, and you note that noting it is its own kind of sign. You write the report. 4 pages, every word of the transaction, every movement, every physical detail of the location. Okafor reads it and sends back one question. What was his right hand doing when he handed you the package? You go back through your memory. His right hand was at his side. He hadn't fully relaxed it from before he handed you the package. You write that in. You resubmit. Okafor sends back, "Good. That's what nervous looks like." Know the difference between careful and nervous. You know the difference now. Level 3. Special Agent, Undercover Operator. You're 27. You've been selected for the undercover program. Not every agent goes this direction. Some are built for investigation, the casework, the surveillance, the courtroom. You're built for the other thing. Calloway's assessment from the academy. Okafor's reports. your own performance in 3 years of fieldwork. Something in you sits comfortably in the gap between who you are and who you need to be. Undercover school is 2 weeks. Advanced role play, deception detection, stress inoculation. You run scenarios that are designed to break your cover, not to teach you to hold it under mild pressure, but to find the exact point where it fails so you know where the edge is. Your first long-term undercover, a mid-level supplier network, 4 months. You're a buyer from Phoenix looking to establish a new supply line. Your cover identity has a history, a backstory that was constructed before you arrived, verifiable in the ways that matter, with the gaps that a real person would have. You meet your first contact, a man who goes by Flacco, at a bar in El Paso. You have one mutual contact in common, a CI who vouched for you. Flacco is 40, careful, has survived this business long enough to be suspicious of everything. The first meeting is 40 minutes. You buy nothing. You talk about nothing specific. You let him steer. You pay for the drinks. You leave. In the debrief, your undercover coordinator, a woman named Reyes, 10 years of UC work, has the specific stillness of someone who's spent years not reacting to things, says, "What did you learn?" You say, "He doesn't trust the voucher. He trusts people who don't need the voucher." She says, "So, what do you do next?" You say, "Nothing. I wait and let him find me." She says, "Correct." You wait 3 weeks. Flacco finds you. Level 4. Undercover, deep cover. You're 29. 18 months. That's how long this operation runs. Long enough that the cover stops being a performance and becomes something else. A parallel life that runs alongside yours, using your body and your voice and your judgment while you are not, officially, yourself. Your cover name is Miguel Reyna. Miguel is from Tucson. Miguel has a record, a real record, constructed through a process you won't describe, verifiable in the databases that matter. Miguel moves product. Miguel has connections in Phoenix and money that moves in ways that are consistent with someone who does what Miguel does. You are not Miguel. You also cannot, for 18 months, stop being him. The operation moves up. Through Flacco, through 2 more intermediaries, you reach the edge of a supply network that connects to a Sinaloa-aligned cell operating across the border. Not the cartel itself. The people who work with the cartel, which is different and also sufficient. You meet a man named Gerardo. Mid-40s, expensive watch, the kind of calm that comes from having been very dangerous for a very long time. He meets you because Flacco vouched, and Flacco's vouches don't come free. He meets you in a restaurant, a real restaurant, lunch, normal people at other tables. He orders in Spanish. You order in Spanish. You talk about nothing for 40 minutes. The food, the city, mutual contacts, the general shape of business without its specifics. He watches you the way you've learned to watch people. You let him watch. You give him things to see that are consistent and nothing that isn't. At the end of lunch, he pays. He says he'll be in touch. He is in touch 6 days later. Your handler, a special agent named Vasquez, who you speak to every 72 hours through a protocol you've drilled until it's reflex, asks after the Gerardo meeting, "How do you feel?" You say, "Fine." He says, "I'm not asking about the operation." You think about it. You say, "I don't know where Miguel ends." He says, "Write that down. Exactly that. Keep writing it every week." You write it every week for 14 months. The sentence changes. That's the point. Level 5. Senior Undercover Agent. You're 32. Before we go any further, drop a comment below. What career do you want to see next? Hit like, subscribe. We post every single day. The Gerardo operation closed with 11 arrests, asset seizures totaling $4.3 million, and enough intelligence on the supply network to open 3 subsequent cases. You testified at trial for 4 days. You sat in a federal courtroom and described 18 months of your life to a jury that didn't know your real name. The defense attorney, good, expensive, the kind of lawyer that serious money buys, tried to make the case that you were the criminal, that you manufactured the crimes by being present for them, that without you, Gerardo doesn't move as much product, doesn't make as many connections, doesn't become the case. You answered every question. You were precise. You did not give her what she was looking for. Gerardo was convicted on 7 counts. He's serving 22 years. You don't feel what you expected to feel about that. You examine this and decide it's correct, that the operation was correct, and the outcome was correct, and the absence of a particular feeling is its own data point about what 18 months does to a person. You're selected for a joint task force. DEA, FBI, HSI, a federal prosecutor named Park, who has tried 23 cartel-connected cases and won 19 of them. The target is a cell operating in Phoenix, moving fentanyl, moving people, moving money, connected at the source to Jalisco New Generation. Not the edge of the cartel this time. Inside. Your cover is rebuilt from scratch. New name, new history, new verified background. You spend 4 months as yourself before you go in, because 4 months is what it takes to remember who yourself is. Then you go in. Level 6, Task Force, Cartel Penetration. You're 35, 26 months. The operation is the longest of your career, the deepest. You're inside a cell that moves fentanyl from Sonora to distribution points in Phoenix, Tucson, and Las Vegas. The cell has 7 principal members. You develop access to 4 of them over the first year. The 5th is a man named El Contador, the accountant, not his real name. His real name is in the case file you haven't seen because the case file is compartmented above your access level. He manages the money, the cleaning, the movement, the layering. He's the most valuable target in the operation and the hardest to reach. You reach him in month 19 through a chain of trust that took 19 months to build, link by link, each link verified by the one before it. El Contador is 48, college-educated, has a daughter in university in Guadalajara who he talks about the way people talk about things that justify everything else. He's careful in ways that have kept him in business for 11 years. He trusts you. You've earned that trust the way you earn trust in this work, incrementally, by being exactly what you say you are, consistently, under conditions that would expose you if you weren't. He trusts you because you've spent 19 months being trustworthy. That sentence lives in you in a specific way. 3 weeks before the takedown, your handler Vasquez pulls you for a 72-hour decompression, mandatory protocol before a long operation closes. You sit in a safe house in Scottsdale and don't talk to anyone connected to the operation, and remember, systematically, who you are. Your real name, your family, the things you believe, the reason you're doing this. You remember all of it. That's not guaranteed. You've seen agents who couldn't, at the end of a long operation, fully come back. You've seen what that looks like. You come back. The takedown happens on a Tuesday morning. 23 arrests across 3 cities. El Contador is taken at his home. He's calm when they come for him. He looks at the agents and then, somehow he looks at the space where you would have been. He knows. You'll never know exactly when he knew or how. He knows. Level 7, Supervisory Special Agent. You're 39. You manage a group now. 8 agents, 2 task force officers, a caseload that runs 15 active investigations at any given time. You don't go undercover anymore, officially. You've been in the field for 15 years. Your face has been in federal courtrooms in 4 states. The operational security calculus doesn't allow it. You miss it in the specific way that you miss something that was costing you things you didn't fully account for while you were paying them. Your youngest agent, a woman named Torres, 2 years in, instincts already better than yours were at her stage, is running her first UC operation, a short-term buy-bust, 4 weeks, low complexity, standard case. You review her reports, you attend her debriefs, you say little. Week 3, she comes to you. She says, "I'm not sure if I like who I am in the room." You sit with that for a moment. You say, "Describe the difference." She describes it. The version of herself that functions in the room versus the version that drives home at her, you say, "That gap is the job. The question is whether you can hold both without losing either one." She asks, "How?" You say, "Write down who you are before you go in, every time. And read it when you come out." She starts writing it down. A month later, she closes her first case. Small case, clean case. She comes to your office and sits down and doesn't say anything for a moment. Then she says, "I know who I am." You say, "Good. Keep checking." Level 8. Assistant Special Agent in Charge. You're 44. Phoenix Field Division. You run the enforcement groups. 7 groups, 62 agents. The operational engine of the division's cartel cases. The administrative load is different from the investigative load but requires the same fundamental skill. Knowing what you're actually looking at versus what it appears to be. Reports can look clean and be wrong. Agents can look fine and be struggling. Cases can look strong and be built on assumptions that won't survive a defense attorney. You review everything twice, not because you don't trust your supervisors, because that's what the position requires. An agent in Group 3, 10 years in, strong record, UC background, starts showing signs, missed deadlines, inconsistent reporting, a 6 that has a gap in the chain of custody documentation that he can't fully explain. You pull him for a conversation. "He's fine," he says. "Everything's fine." You know what fine sounds like when it means fine, and what it sounds like when it means something else. This is the second one. You mandate a consultation with the division psychologist. He resists. You tell him it's not optional. 3 weeks later, he comes to your office and sits down. He says, "I didn't know I wasn't okay." You say, "I know." He says, "How did you know?" You say, "Because I was you at year 10. And someone did the same thing for me." He looks at you. He asks who. You say, "Someone who was paying attention." He takes 60 days. He comes back. He closes his cases. Level 9. Special Agent in Charge. You're 49. The division is yours. 412 personnel. A geographic area of responsibility that covers Arizona and parts of New Mexico. A border that moves more fentanyl than any other point of entry in the country. A threat picture that changes faster than the intelligence cycle that describes it. You brief the administrator. You brief congressional staff on oversight visits. You testify before a Senate subcommittee on border security. 90 minutes, prepared statement followed by questions from senators who understand the issue at varying depths. You answer every question accurately within its authorized scope. A case that tests the division in a specific way. An informant, a CI who has been working with one of your groups for 3 years, reliable, significant, responsible for 4 successful prosecutions, is identified by the cartel. Not exposed through the investigation, exposed through something peripheral. A financial transaction the CI made that was inconsistent with their cover story. The CI is in danger before you know they're in danger. When you find out you have 4 hours, you move 4 resources you didn't have 4 hours ago. The CI is relocated, the family is relocated, the operation they were supporting is suspended pending a security review. In the aftermath, you trace how the exposure happened. You find the gap. You close it. You write the protocol change. It goes to all field divisions. The CI is safe. The CI is gone. From the work, from the network, from the city, from the identity they've been living under. That's the cost of the 4 hours. You write them a letter that you can't send under their real name. You keep the letter in a file. That's all you can do. Level 10. Retired. You're 55. You submitted the paperwork on a Monday. The retirement was processed in 6 weeks. The ceremony was in the Field Division conference room. 40 people. Someone made a cake. Your photograph went on the wall with the others. You drove home alone. It's a Thursday. You're in a house in Tucson that you bought 8 years ago and have lived in for maybe half of that. Cumulatively, between assignments and operations and the time you spent being someone else, the house is yours. The city is yours. You are, unambiguously, yourself. You consult sometimes. Training programs for state and local law enforcement. A university course on organized crime. Nothing that requires you to be anyone other than who you are. You think about Calloway, who said the hesitation is a conversation and the conversation gets people killed. You think about how many times you hesitated in 30 years, and each time you eliminated the hesitation before it mattered. You think about the one time, in month 14 of the Gerardo operation, when you almost didn't. When the question came too fast and the gap was there. You filled it, but you felt it. You think about Gerardo serving 22 years. You think about El Contador, convicted on 9 counts, sentenced to 31 years. You think about what they did, and you think about the fact that you spent months being trusted by them, and that trust was the mechanism of their conviction. Both things are true simultaneously. You've made peace with both of them being true simultaneously. Not resolved. Peace is different from resolution. You think about Torres, who said she knows who she is. You think about the agent from Group 3 who didn't know he wasn't okay. You think about every agent you pulled back from the edge of something and everyone you didn't catch in time and the specific difference between those two categories, which is not always skill and not always attention, but sometimes just timing. You think about Vasquez, who asked if you knew where Miguel ended. You know where Miguel ended. Miguel ended in a federal evidence file, in a case that's closed, in a name that belongs to no one now. You know where you begin. That clarity took years. Your real name is on the wall in the Field Division conference room. Not Miguel. Not any of the others. Your real name. That was always the goal, to come back to it, to have it still mean something when you did. The morning is quiet, Tucson quiet, dry, warm, the light doing something specific to the desert that you've missed on every assignment that took you somewhere else. You make coffee, you sit on the porch, somewhere a case is being built. Someone is in a room right now being someone they're not, listening better than the other person is talking, writing down who they are before they go in. You hope they read it when they come out. You hope they know where they end.